been told that real change requires lots of money and institutional backing. And it may seem that way when you see corporations and leaders of these corporations dumping millions into a cause or election. But that's not always true. Many of the most powerful shifts in American democracy were led by Black women who had almost none of that, frankly. So today, I want to talk about how power in a democracy has been built, even when money was scarce, and institutions actively worked against you. Hi, my name is Atima Omara. I'm an American political strategist, advocate, business owner, and author of my very first book, The Instigators: How Black Women Have Been Essential to American Democracy, and what we can learn from them, out from HarperCollins later this year, May 5th, 2026. Money moves the movement, as the saying goes. And it's definitely helpful, no doubt, not gonna lie. But oftentimes folks don't have a lot of the money to move the movement for a variety of reasons. And Black people, especially Black women, have faced a lot of challenges in getting access to financial resources historically. Some are systemic, like pay discrimination on the job. Other reasons are tied to racism or sexism, like when donors provide limited funding support to Black women-led organizations versus white-led organizations for weird reasons. Whatever the reason, Black women have had to find alternative ways to build power for themselves and their communities. And they did as public speakers, organizers, political leaders, and eventually elected officials. One example that comes to mind that I write about in my book is Instigator Shirley Chisholm. She was the first Black woman elected to Congress in the United States in 1968. Most don't know that she didn't get a lot of backing from major leaders, celebrities, and big donors at that time. Shirley Chisholm was the daughter of immigrants from Barbados. Her family was a working class family in Brooklyn. As she got older, she wanted to get involved in her beloved Brooklyn community to make impact. Now, this was in the 1950s and 1960s, where very few Black people were elected to office, let alone Black women, even in New York City. Over the course of her community involvement, Chisholm had built relationships from her time as a grassroots volunteer and leader in the Brooklyn NAACP, the Urban League, and the League of Women Voters. She was even involved in her local Democratic committee, where she was elected to their board of directors while still actively in college. Chisholm was also involved in founding two clubs that worked to build political power for Black people and other people of color in Brooklyn. One of them came out of the election of Louis Flagg, who was the first Black judge elected in Brooklyn. Flagg's election and the Black people involved in this election came together to form the Black-led Bedford-Stuyvesant Political League, BSPL, where Chisholm and other Black community members used the political power they had built with Flagg's election to lobby on issues important to the Black community in Brooklyn, such as housing discrimination, more economic opportunities, and jobs for folks in the community, and just needed community services that had been ignored because these communities were people of color. In addition, Chisholm kept phone banking, knocking on doors, and carrying petitions for candidates and causes over the years. It was from this she built her visibility and credibility that helped her eventually get elected to the New York State Assembly. And as an assemblywoman, Chisholm continued to build up a network and policy accomplishments for the community that by the time an open seat for Congress emerged, she felt she was ready for that challenge. But Chisholm was running against a well-funded and well-known candidate at the time, James Farmer, who was a major national civil rights leader. Despite not being from New York, Farmer raised a lot more money than she did from major national celebrities at the time. We're talking like Sidney Poitier. New York media did not even pay attention to her, even though she was the hometown girl. Chisholm had to take a different tact. She walked the streets of her neighborhood, taking the case to voters door to door. She recruited a number of volunteers, particularly women and working class folks, to help her, and she was victorious and became the first Black woman elected to Congress. The spirit of Chisholm's grassroots campaigning lives on in many candidates at the local, state, and federal level today. Now, it's way more expensive to run for office nowadays, especially Congress, than it was when Chisholm was running. But elected officials like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ayanna Pressley in Massachusetts are women who were able to get elected to Congress and pulling off what was perceived to be impossible, even while money was scarce or was insignificant, and institutions refused to back them against their powerful, well-funded opponents at the time, both of whom were incumbents. This is one of the most misunderstood lessons in how democracy actually works. Despite the changing times and how much more expensive it is, people still misunderstand that people power is important in a democracy. And if you want to learn about more stories like it, check out The Instigators, the book, on pre-order. I'll see you in the next video.